closer to see it. Okay. So first of all, let's define rate. Okay, so rates are a ratio that compares two different quantities. Okay. Let me try to zoom in a little bit more for those of you that are in the back. Sorry that it's funky like this. Okay, and an example of a rate would be something like this. You have 60 miles, you drive 60 miles with 3 gallons of gas. Okay, so you're comparing how many miles and how much gas you're using. Okay, we use rates all the time. Okay, she drove 100 miles in 2 hours, or she did 4 laps in 10 minutes, you know, or you're using 2 cups of milk to 5 cups of flour. Okay, anything that can be compared. And what we're really going to be focusing on is unit rate today. Unit is just a fancy rate, okay? So unit rate is a rate like the one above, but with a denominator of 1. Okay, and to get a unit rate, we're going to, so here, let me put this in parentheses. This is like how you do this. Okay, so to change just a regular old rate to a unit rate, you're going to divide the numerator by the denominator. Okay, so I think what will help is if we can actually see this rate right here written as a fraction. Okay, so let me move this up again. Let's go back to that example. Okay, now whenever you see these little symbols is like 2, so 60 miles to 3 gallons. Okay, and when you change this into a fractional rate, like into fraction form, we always take the first one and put it on top of the second one. So we can do 60 miles over 3 gallons. And to get the unit rate, we just divide. So 60 divided by 3 is going to be 20 miles per gallon. So this right here is our unit rate, because that's how many miles you can go on 1 gallon of gas. So unit rate means we're getting this to 1, okay, for 1 per 1. Yeah,
we did this a little bit last year.
You did? Cool, I'm glad you guys have experience with it. All right, let's do some examples, and I'll have you guys get some practice. I want to make sure to throw some examples in there that have fractions so that you are getting proficient at solving these ones that have fractions in them. So let me scoot this up a little bit. so let's calculate unit rate. So I'll do one straightforward example, and then I'll do one that has some fractions in it, and then I'll have you guys practice. So let's do this. 228 magazines in 4 boxes. So what we're trying to figure out is how many magazines per box. So to find the unit rate, I'm going to put magazines over boxes. So I'm going to do 228 over 4. And I'm basically just going to divide this to find out how many magazines per box this would be. And if you need to come off to the side and do a little bit of scratch work, feel free. Okay, so I'm getting 57. So the unit rate here would be 57. And when you're doing this on paper, I need units. When you're using the answer checker, don't put the units, okay? But when you're doing your homework on paper and I do your binder check, I want to look and make sure, hey, they are putting the units for this. And on a test and on a quiz, I need to see your units as well, okay? So this is 57 magazines per box. The reason the words and units and are important is because it lets me know that you understand what you just did. You found out how many magazines there were per box. Okay, let's do one more example, but this time I'm going to use fractions so that we get used to doing that. So 3½ cups of sugar for 5¼ cups of lemonade. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to find out how many cups of sugar you need for each cup of lemonade. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this in fractional form first. Okay, so this will be, let me do this in purple. This will be 3½ divided by 5¼ Now don't fret about the crazy looking complex fractions here. What we're going to do is we're going to turn these into improper fractions, and it helps to write it horizontally. Okay, so first I'm going to change this to 7/2 as an improper fraction. Now this is just a division bar. So it's this divided by this. So I'm going to divide, change this into an improper fraction. So this is 21/4. Now that I have it written horizontally, I can keep it, switch it, flip it. So this will be 7/2 times 4/21. And then you're going to multiply straight across. Now, I like to cross cancel, which is basically simplifying before I multiply. But if you are not comfortable with cross canceling, you can just multiply straight across and then simplify. Okay? So I'm going to cross cancel. This will be 1 and 3, 1 and 2. And then when I multiply straight across, this is going to be 2/3. And we can't just write it like that. We have to put our units. This is 2/3, and I'm going to abbreviate cups to just C, cups, sugar per cup lemonade. And I'm totally running out of space. Okay. And this right here is considered your unit rate for that situation. You have 2/3 cup sugar per cup lemonade. Yes, Taylor.
Is it healthy to drink that much, put that much sugar in lemonade?
No, it really isn't. Yes, you're right. That is a lot of sugar. Okay. I'm gonna have you guys try 2, and then we're gonna talk about unit rates that involve money, because we are gonna have to be rounding to the nearest cent on those.
Good being Rod.
Okay, so that first one, you're gonna find out how many cups of flour per dozen brownies. And then Ben walked for 8.5 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. Here, let me pull it up. And covered 3/4 of a mile. Okay. So you're gonna need to find how many minutes per mile. So try to do those pretty quickly because I wanna make sure we get to a couple money examples before you guys have to leave. Yeah, Taylor.
First one's 138 divided by 46, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ooh, everybody's here today. It's a good day. I'm gonna start doing my work just for the sake of time. Okay, they're not always gonna be pretty. So if you have to divide like this, you can either leave it as a fraction or like, no, you would have to divide to get it down to the unit rate. So just make sure that you round to the nearest hundredth. This is actually going to be a repeating decimal, so maybe we should just leave this as 11 and 1/3. And this is minutes per mile. All right, I'm a little bummed that we didn't get to money problems, so I'm just going to briefly say that make sure that you are rounding to the nearest cent. And if you're getting it wrong, you're probably not rounding correctly, so just double check your rounding, okay? I think you guys can figure it out just fine because it's the same stuff you were doing on your posters today, okay? Email me if you need anything. Remember, you need to get 100% on that. So just send me an email if you have any issues.